All right, let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Everybody said I was crazy when I said that Kevin Stefanski needed to take a page out of Sean McVay's book, which was replace his entire staff like he did in 2020. And now that he did, I think that I feel way more confident with the hire of Bubba Ventrone, with the hire of Jim Schwartz, with AVP. Those are really key coordinators that I think will help us get to our goal. Now the next step is the players need to execute that plan. You can have the best team in the world, but if players don't execute, there's really no point in doing anything. There's really no point in making all these hires. So we have to make sure, players are ready to execute week one. So let's go.
And that's the way Bubba Ventrone has been received by and large. Folks that pay attention to such things. I remember Bubba Ventrone as a special teams player. I am told he is a guy that is very vocal and yells, similar to a Bill Cowher when he was special teams coordinator for the Browns, an active guy. And that, you want diversity with personalities on the coaching staff, and it seems like that's the way the Browns are going.
Well, I think the best way to put it, because he's not like a vitriol scream Greg Williams guy, where Greg Williams was like screaming like just insane stuff on the sideline, right? He's passionate. You'll see him yell, but it's passionate, right? There's a separation between yelling because you're mad and just yelling because you're excited. He's more or less that. And when you talk to NFL players and ask them what they feel like special teams coaches, what's the skill that they need to be successful? And even if you ask somebody who, the most famous special teams coach in this division is probably John Harbaugh, right? Longtime special teams coach for him. He's been a longtime head coach now of the Baltimore Ravens. And what is the one thing that they all say these guys need to be able to do is manage relationships? Because one, don't nobody want to play special teams, man. Like, nobody in the NFL dreamed of playing special teams, right? Like, that is an actual reality when we talk about this. And it is your job as Bubba Ventrone to say, hey, man, I know you were first team all-conference. Maybe you were first, second team all-American. But I'm going to need you to come down here and be this gunner, man. Like that's not an easy conversation to have. And it requires a lot of people skills in order to get that done. And what Bubba Ventrone shows me throughout his body of work is that he's able to do those things, right? He's able to manage those relationships and be able to handle these things. And that's the one thing this coaching staff has lacked as a unit is when things break down, when guys aren't happy with their role, how do we communicate to them? Maybe he could be a voice in the room that can help with that communication, because I think that means everything. Because every year, this is the one thing against Stefanski, right, and the staff that he had. Every year we could point to there was some breakdown when it comes to how somebody felt about their role, right? 2020, Odell still had issues with his role, even though the team was good. 2021, Odell, Baker Mayfield, like you pick a player. He had an issue with his role that was unresolved in 2021. And in 2022, obviously, Jadeveon Clowney's the one that comes to mind. But it's a constant, right? Guys who aren't happy with what they're being asked to do, and they aren't being able to handle these things in the building because they don't have anybody with those skills to be able to handle that. Now you have Bubba Ventrone who's like, hey, man, I did this transition before. Like, I understand where you're at. I'm a former player. I played in the league for a while. I'm able to come to your level on this. And I think that's something that they were sorely lacking, because if you look at that coaching staff, who was the former player that played recently in that coaching staff before they hired Bubba Ventrone, right? Like, I think Stump Mitchell might have legitimately been the closest thing to a former player in there. And Stump Mitchell, no disrespect, played in the 80s. I think even before, he was on the expansion Cardinals, which many people might not even recognize that that's an expansion team. Like, it's a long time ago that he was in the league, and it's a different league than what happens now. And I think that perspective was sorely missing from this locker room. And it made me feel old when I realized that Bubba Ventrone had not played in the NFL in almost 10 years, because 2014 is 10 years ago, almost. That will make me feel old. But he is somebody who has recent experience in these locker rooms that understands, hey, this is how you got to handle this with players. Maybe we should take this approach instead of this one, because what we've been doing has not worked. So this isn't just for special teams with me. While I love this hire, I think this adds an element to the coaching staff that's gonna help mitigate one of their biggest problems they've had over the years.